Get you up now. Don't put it on the one spot. Just gradually let it out. No, 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 no. You're trying. You're trying.
Are those the expensive minerals, Patrick?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we've ever had a successful spring on our farm. Each year has new challenges, loud calves, and new learning opportunities. There are a couple of areas that we do focus on to try to have as successful a spring as we can. So these are our 4 top areas that we prioritise. The first area actually has nothing to do with cows or calves and has everything to do with sleep. This has looked different for us over the past number of years. There were seasons where I would do nighttime calving and Padraig and his dad would look after things during the day. That worked quite well. But obviously we had a family of our own and the farm has had to adapt to these changes, so we're just prioritising sleep as best as we can. We have cameras on our phones that we can check the cows, so if there's a cow calving in the nighttime, once everything's looking okay, we'll just let her work away. We set our phones to, I don't know if there's a fancier way to call it, but red mode in the evening time. So it basically gets rid of that blue light. So especially like in the dead of night when you wake up and you're checking calving cameras on your phone, you don't want the blue light that's coming off the phone to negatively affect your sleep quality. Look, this time of year it's just full on and busy and there's no getting around that fact, but if we can get sleep in, at least it helps us to make decisions on the farm and keep things running as smoothly as we possibly can. Second area that we focus on is hygiene, and this covers a whole multitude of things such as bedding, feeding equipment, calving area where calves are lying, parlour, like literally everything. So if you can get hygiene right, keep disease and sickness away, then you are way in a hack, because we all know how much time sickness takes up on a farm. So the first thing we do every year, not the first thing we do, one of the things we do is buy new brushes, sponges for washing calving equipment, and then everything gets a good disinfect before the season starts. So feeders, bottles, etc, etc. What else do we do? Oh yeah, we buy new teats for all of the feeders, so the milk buggy, the 10 teat feeders, the bottles, they all get new teats so that we're not bringing, you know, stuff over from the previous springtime. And then when we're actually in the thick of it and washing things, anything that has had milk in it gets a cold wash first and then it gets a hot wash. Okay, so one of the things with hygiene is that obviously wherever you are feeding, wherever you are cleaning the stuff that you're using to feed, probably should be clean. And this poor sink gets a bit of an awful doing because it's kind of like, well, it's outdoors I suppose in a farmyard, so it doesn't exactly say spotlessly clean. I am going to give it a good lash now, get it all cleaned up, so that at least where we're cleaning bottles and jugs and syringes and all that sort of stuff will be nice and clean for the springtime. So this is the before of the sink. As you can see, I wasn't lying. It is pretty grubby, but I'm going to give it a good old scrub now. There is no technique to this. It is just water and a brush, okay? This is the after. Another area that is fairly important for hygiene is where cows are lying. So bedding, like where calves and cows are both lying, we just try to keep it cleaned out as frequently as we can, change the straw, keep the moisture away.
Getting cows out to grass as much as possible reduces the workload. jumper.
Smashing. Are you trying to show us that you're working?
No. Grass, I suppose, is one of the cheapest feeds available, but it's one of the better quality feeds for cows, especially just after calving. Yeah, trying to get them out even when you have inclement weather conditions like we're having at the moment. It's not always possible, and sometimes you'll do more harm than good. Anybody that's living in Ireland will know that it's been an extremely wet spring so far. We've only had a handful of days out grazing, and normally I'd be fairly bullish with getting them out. We're doing a bit of on-off grazing now, where they'll go out for a couple of hours and come back in. There's a very small amount of silage in front of them for later on this evening, so we let them out now at 5, and I'm thinking, looking at ground conditions, I'll probably bring them in maybe around 8 o'clock or that. They'll have this place fairly well grazed. Like the research shows, I think that 2 4-hour grazings in the day will give them 90% of their dietary requirements. So I suppose you can fill the gap then with a small bit of silage and meal then as well. This paddock's a bit awkward in that it's an unusual shape, so I've done my best to give them, I try to give them regular blocks of ground rather than giving them triangles. I used to maybe do pizza slices and that, but then I used to find the narrow bit would get poached, so I try and give them blocks as much as possible, so like a rectangle or a square or whatever. This paddock is irregular, but we have the water troughs in the middle of the paddock, so it does help to do that. And then I'm just giving them what they're going to be grazing for 4 hours now, and they're not going to be going back over this again. Yeah, we're using reels to do that and pigtails, and then I'll be back fencing that piece over there was where they were. It's probably 2 days ago now.
2 days ago, I think, yeah.
So we can show you that what they grazed that time. So the cover wise, we're going into a medium to light cover, because they're just after calving, so they wouldn't have a massive appetite. It takes a while for them to build that appetite back up after calving. And also, if it's a medium to light cover, you can kind of give them a bit of a bigger area than you would if it's a heavy cover, and you'd be tightening them into a smaller area, so that's obviously going to create more problems from a poaching point of view. We would have targeted a good few paddocks around the parlour to have light to medium covers on the driest pieces closest to the parlour for early springtime grazing.
Do you know the way the camera adds 10 pounds, isn't that what they say? Well, does it add the same to poaching? Is it the equivalent?
Yeah, you can be the judge of that. You can zoom in.
No, it's actually not that bad.
It doesn't look as bad when you don't eat that way.
I'll just keep the camera pointed this way, so will I. No, it's actually, and they did a good job grazing it off, didn't they?
Yeah.
You tired?
No, grand.
Okay, so the last area that we focus on to try to have a good calving season is minerals. And now I'm not a vet or an animal health expert by any means, so this is just our anecdotal experience on farm. But we have noticed that when we do prioritise minerals, particularly magnesium, that we generally have better outcomes in terms of just calving difficulty for cows, calf vigour. Calves tend to just suck better, and also just the general recovery of the cow after calving. So magnesium seems to be key to a lot of that, but obviously also just trace minerals. So we do kind of a combination here. We do minerals through the water, and then we shake minerals on the silage as well. That kind of makes sure that we're covering all angles in terms of whatever the cows are eating and whatever the cows are drinking has minerals in them. We have used different things over the years, but I think definitely just focusing on minerals, whatever way they are got into the cow, does help. Actually, something that we've tried the last 2 years as well is they're calcium boluses, or you can get paste as well that you can give to the cows after calving, particularly if they're ones that are prone to milk fever, just to help prevent milk fevers. And we actually just discovered 2 days ago, so we're about halfway calved now, so this video has been done in stages obviously, but we're about nearly halfway calved, and we've had no milk fevers up until this morning. and then we got 2 milk fevers. So we were like, what? Like, how is that happening? And then Padraig decided to have a look at the water system where the magnesium goes into the water, and it was all blocked up. So obviously the magnesium wasn't going into the water. We don't know how long it was like that. And this is just obviously one anecdotal experience, so don't know if that's, you know, the cause of the 2 milk fevers, but he is cleared out now and the magnesium is going back into the water. So we'll just see for the rest of the spring whether we get any more milk fevers or not. Hopefully not. Up to this point they have been absolutely firing out the calves. The calves have been sucking brilliantly, like. So yeah, whether we can attribute all of that to minerals, I don't know, but it definitely seems to help for sure. Just a final note that we got the blood results back of the cows that went to the factory with TB. 2 came back positive out of the 5, but none of them showed up with lesions in the factory. So that's kind of the results of that. The 2 that came back positive in the bloods corresponded with the 2 that had the biggest lumps. But again, yeah, there was no lesions. So if you haven't seen those videos, I will put a link for them down below, or they'll probably come up on the site here somewhere. YouTube normally knows what you're talking about, doesn't it? And so yeah, that's the story. Okie doke. See you in the next one. Bye.